Hey guys, it's Paul, combat veteran, MMA fighter, YouTuber, and today we are going to be breaking down the end of the line. This is a Team Fortress 2 classic. Let's crack into it. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm also a caffeine addict. Damn, this is good production value. Also, I love the true movie aspect ratio, right? You can see it's got the black lines as though it was meant to be shown in a film, and they just have begrudgingly uploaded it to YouTube. Ooh, a Shining reference. I like it already. Okay, I love how the medic is incredibly poorly dressed for winter, as they all are, right? One piece of survival advice: if you have gone deep into the channel, you know it was originally a military surplus outdoors channel, and I have more than a couple videos where I am in snowstorms and ice storms. And if there's one lesson to take away from it, it's that most of your heat is lost through the top of your head. That's why human beings evolved to have a ton of hair there. So what you always want to do if you're going to be out in the freezing cold and you only have one piece of gear, a hat. Also, it covers your ears and prevents frostbite. Stealth pigeon bomb. What else we got? Giant magnifier death ray. These are all like terrible, I guess, like weapon plans. But this is sort of, honestly, you can't fault them. This is how militaries operate, right? They come up with a bunch of half-baked schemes, and they find ones that really work through testing and sometimes even field testing. A great example would be in World War I, right? They tried to create these like bulletproof suits of armor, thinking that armored troops could just advance through the battlefield, but they found that they were clunky and actually not that reliable, right? And they also rolled out things like poison gas and tanks, which they found were incredibly effective. I can't tell if this is bearded competent heavy or bearded competent soldier. I mean, I think of soldier as being an idiot, so already we're cast against type here by having the engineer be the sort of like lost subordinate, and the I'm going to assume soldier is the leader. I love it. I love it. I love the unicorn, right? And the ducks. The ducks are pretty cool. Though the ice cream is questionable because obviously it's winter. It should be Christmas themed. He kind of gets it with the candy cane, But overall the color scheme is good. Though the yellow background with the yellow sun kind of washes it out somewhat. Also, the yellow cloud really gives the viewer some confusion over what exactly is it, unless that's of course part of the intent. Oh, hey Red, go die, yours truly heavy. Kill Red. That's a much more straightforward message, a less interpretable sort of art, more of like a Banksy, that kind of hits you over the head with its meaning. By the way, gents, if you haven't joined the Discord, there's an entire channel dedicated to art fan art or just general art, and actually it's pretty hilarious and sometimes pretty good. Okay, so what's interesting about his decision to use a fuse, a flame burning fuse, that is something that was generally done. I think it came out of fashion in about the 19 maybe 30s. Modern explosives, they prefer using an electronic detonation because it's more reliable, right? So fuses burn in funny ways, and if you've ever lit a match, you know that sometimes it burns very evenly and straightforward, and sometimes it goes out immediately. So lighting it on fire, especially then tossing it away, is a recipe to not have your dynamite detonate, right? It's also possible to have it reach the end of the fuse and burn off and not set the dynamite off, which is of course extremely dangerous for the person who has to go investigate or reset another charge. It's just a terrible method, right? And it was only really used for mining, where the stakes were pretty low, geological time, nothing's going anywhere. But for combat applications, man, a burning fuse is a terrible call. I have probably criticized this 500 million times in this game, but I will continue to because it speaks to my soul. The standing shooting position, you will never hit jack. Not at any meaningful distance. Inside a room, sure, right? But as a sentry position, that is a terrible one. It's terrible for one, because you are totally exposed and there's no cover. Two, you don't have a good shooting position on anything. And three, it's easy for others to see where you are and what you're looking at, right? So overall, a better bet would be to be set inside that little guard shack, set off from a window with a firing position set up, and maybe change it occasionally, especially if you put up, say, netting in front of the window so no one could look in, but it would be easy for you to look out in the well-lit, foreground. Okay, it may not be that bad a plan if you had some static guards inside the guard shack looking out through the windows, and then occasionally at random intervals you popped out a patrol just so that no one could sneak up on the guard tower through a blind spot. That actually isn't a bad strategy, though the best strategy would be to have two guard towers with fields of vision set up such that guard tower B watched the base and surrounding area of guard tower A, and guard tower A watched the base and surrounding area of guard tower B. That way, even if you snuck up on a blind spot in tower B, tower A would watch you do it. The eye twitch, that's great, actually. I love that. The kitten store. Kitten orphanage, nice. That was a nice detail, right? He checked to make sure it was still loaded and that the flare was still good. And actually shooting colored flares is a completely valid and frankly probably excellent way to signal a large group of people when other comms are down or when not everyone has a radio. Usually they have simple signals such as green means okay, red means being overrun, that sort of thing. So I imagine this means some sort of standard like defensive positions. Okay, I appreciate these guys are being depicted as not being total fools and buffoons. I think that's a nice touch, right? A little bit different than a lot of the other fan videos where they're all depicted as being idiots. And I know in canon they're, of course, all idiots. But sort of like Crash Mall does in his later videos, right? Like, he allows them to be, like, competent fighters to create these, like, really fun, dynamic scenes. I think that's good filmmaking. So it's funny to see them operating out of what looks like a small camper. And what I like is that the camper is actually a really good way to a civilian equivalent of what a lot of militaries do, which is that their vehicles carry form their shelter, form their weapons platform, they carry their food and water. You know what we did in Afghanistan, of course, we had our 4 vehicles. They carried spare fuel. On the vehicle, we would carry spare fuel, enough water and food for about 72 hours, a basic set of spare maintenance parts, spare radio batteries. A lot of people actually carried cots and chairs and the like, though we almost never used them. But the idea was, of course, that you could actually live out of those vehicles without resupply for 3 days, and with even a basic resupply, you could fight out of them almost indefinitely, right? And that's tactically really powerful. The ability to have this, to turn a group of dismounted soldiers, right, moving, 4 miles an hour max, right, into a taller, better armored, faster weapon platform that can communicate and maneuver in ways that no soldier walking on boots ever could. And a Winnebago is actually not a bad illustration of that, right? The idea, of course, being that it has a cab, but it has everything you need for life support, and you can imagine in there they would also have, again, food, water, radio batteries, a basic first aid kit, and everything else they would need to maintain that guard position for, let's say, a week. I appreciate that they had the scout actually look like 3 times, making sure he can do it. Looking, going. Yeah, it's not going to help. Push. The object is self-contained. You have to shift the weight back or get off it. Okay, if there's one thing trope filmmaking teaches me, it's that Heavy's going to discover the secret that they need to stop the thing. What's interesting is actually that's exactly how you notice that it changed from being basically a snowstorm on one side to a sort of cool, crisp mountain, like almost like a springtime environment on the other. That is completely expected, and it makes sense, right? You can imagine that they may have detonated the explosive on the engine of the train up on the top of the mountain, and then as the train goes down the tracks, it winds down the mountain, right? Basically powered by its own momentum, not unlike a car. If you've ever driven through a major mountain range, you know that you can actually, if you just let the car cruise down the mountain, it'll pick up speed quickly, almost to a frightening level of speed. So that's probably what the train is doing here. But mountains are so big, of course, that sometimes they can alter weather patterns. Weather pattern on one side and the weather pattern on the other can be completely different. Also, as you change elevation, the environment changes rapidly. Every 1,000 feet of elevation, the general rule is usually about 10 degrees of change, right, as you climb every 1,000 feet, which is a significant difference. It means that you can climb a 3,000-foot mountain and have it be a brisk 60 degrees at the base and have it be below freezing in just a couple hours of hiking. Okay, that's just great. Of course it's under the mat. Disarm bomb, yes and yes. Your boy would be better off just decoupling that car. Maybe he's gonna think of that. Heavy. No technical skills. Can't help anyone. So, okay, I'm going to point this out. One of the super common tactics for partisans in World War II, these were guerrilla resistances to the occupying forces. One of their classic tactics was actually to pull up the beams from railroad ties. So they would separate off the big metal tracks right? And they would actually just sort of disconnect them, right? They'd pull out all the stakes, but then leave them in place. But they would, so to a visual inspector, right, they would see an intact railroad. It wouldn't look destroyed, and it wouldn't look destroyed to the conductor. But because it wasn't set on anything, as the train moved over it, the rails would be off center, and they would kind of get shifted. And the result would be that the train would leave the tracks in a pretty tremendous accident. Of course, that was a way to effectively deal damage to the logistical efforts, usually at very little cost because, of course, rails are notoriously underguarded. Or it's just hard to do, right? You couldn't possibly defend thousands of miles of rail line. My point is, of all this is, if their goal is to stop that train, that's an easy way to do it. Just do it far enough out that it's not really like an issue. And then repairing the tracks is probably pretty easy. Heavy is hero. See, he did the same thing, but with 10,000 extra steps and an incredibly needless amount of risk to himself, which is make the tracks inaccessible. That's why they paid me the big bucks. Okay, it wasn't moving that fast, guys. I don't think a train could move fast enough to launch the cars through the air. Yes, I know, it's a film, it's supposed to be preposterous. This is what I do, right? This is what my breakdowns are like. If you're not here for over-analysis, dude, you're just at the wrong channel. My prediction was only partially right. Pyro with the scuba mask. Da-da! Pyro chasing the kittens. The little Orvid Timmy? Okay, alright. That's how it feels playing chess sometimes, man. Right. There's a level where like you're too dumb to realize you got to think moves ahead. But then once you realize that, but you don't actually have like the systems in place, I feel like you just become this like over analyzer of all things. That's why speed chess is a thing, I guess. You know what's really interesting about chess is that at the international level, it demands so much concentration that it actually, and like your body's in a state of heightened stress for so long because these games can take hours and hours and hours, that it actually, your brain is using so many calories, or your body's stress response is burning so many calories to sustain it, that competitors will actually become exhausted, and they will lose weight, they will starve, and for a lot of high-level competitive chess players, they actually need to have this really robust level of physical fitness so that their bodies can literally sustain operations, so to speak, through a chess tournament. You'll have to punch it into Google, but there's some awesome articles detailing how historic chess players have dealt with this incredible taxing effect that it has on the body. All this to say that Heavy may actually be a great chess player just by sheer stamina. Guys, that was. Oh, it says a little bit left. Oh, it's just the credits. Okay, well, let's give credit. James McIrvine. Luke Murray also deserves a lot of credit. Wildfire Rebecca Persley. Is that a pun? Man, this is the whole team. Okay, guys, that was friggin' awesome. That was so cool. I really did enjoy that. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Be sure to, of course, check out the merch store, right? I always have new cool merch repping the channel. If you, of course, be sure to stay tuned in for streams, right? I don't really announce my streams because I'm a bad content creator. But be sure to come into the Discord, and if you want to support the channel a little bit more, you can become a channel member. You can see the join button right next to the subscribe button, and that allows you to get exclusive access to rooms on the Discord, allows you to vote on my Friday video and submit requests for Friday videos, and it gives you priority access to the party when I'm streaming. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this, and I will see you next time.